Welcome back to BLOCKTV. You're watching Links in the Chain, where we get to know the people innovating within the crypto sphere. A company working towards that is Oneiro, the company that created ndau and claims to be the global provider of advanced high-performance blockchain solutions. Joining us via Zoom to talk through this solution is Cohen, VP of Marketing at Oneiro. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on today. So now the motto written out on the website is, and I'm quoting here, "If you can dream it, we can build it." Now with that, please break down what the goal of Oneiro is.
Absolutely. So Greek word Oneiro means dream. So we're having a little bit of fun on that pronunciation of what Greek Oneiro means. But really, that's what we're all about here at Oneiro, where the company was founded about 2.5 to 3 years ago, where we realized that blockchain development was going to be in incredible demand. We believe that there's going to be tens of billions of dollars spent annually on blockchain developers, and that talent is really difficult to find. We got our break about 3 years ago when we were contracted to build ndau, the world's first buoyant virtual currency, and we've spent the last 3 years building our own custom blockchain and really pushing the envelope in blockchain design to be able to do something that we think is very unique in the market and very different by putting a unique monetary policy on a next generation blockchain.
So, I mean, and the biggest announcement, right? Early October, it was announced that Oneiro had secured a $5 million investment from Cosimo, if I'm saying that correctly, Cosimo Ventures, in a Series A funding round. Now, this brings the company's total venture capital investment to $8 million, according to reports. That is a hefty sum. And of course, my next question is, what do you guys plan on doing with it?
So it is a hefty sum. We're very fortunate to have our investors at Cosimo Ventures backing Oneiro. There's two things we're going to do with the funding. The first thing is, as I mentioned beforehand, ndau is an enormous idea, and we've got lots of work to do as it relates to continuing adoption, expanding our global market strategy, getting on more exchanges, meeting with new partners, developing new side chains on the blockchain to fulfill the vision that we've been asked to do with ndau. But at the same time, we've learned a ton over the last 3 years, and we're now looking for additional opportunities with that additional capital to take on new projects. Those new projects could be crypto projects, they could be B2B enterprise, they could be startups looking for our development expertise. We think everything we've learned over the last 3 years is going to be very, very relevant for the next decade.
Absolutely. So this investment, this large sum we were speaking of, it comes from people who truly believe in the project and what you're doing, it sounds like, if it's to move forward in other avenues. Do you see that as being true?
That's exactly true. If you look at the Cosimo Ventures investments, they are investing in deep tech companies that they call with a heavy emphasis toward blockchain, whether it's projects, registration, the broad portfolio that they have. So they're deep in blockchain, they believe in blockchain, and I am very fortunate to get involved in the technology. While it's been around for a decade, it really reminds me of the internet from 20 years ago, and this is the future, so I'm really privileged to be working on it.
Right, so as we've already said, right, Oneiro brought us ndau and what you guys call and what you referred to before as the world's first buoyant virtual currency. But before we get your take on it and more information on it, I would like to take a look at the little explainer you guys have on your site. This is just a snippet of it. Let's take a look.
ndau, known as a buoyant coin, has been specifically engineered for a long-term store of value. It was designed to overcome the issues not addressed by either unstabilized cryptocurrencies or stable coins. Much like a bobber on a fishing line, ndau is designed to always rise to the surface, and the harder it gets pulled beneath the surface, the more force it has to propel its way back up. How does ndau achieve its buoyancy? The answer lies in its unique monetary policy that encourages long-term holding and discourages active speculative trading. A monetary policy that dampens volatility and allows for controlled rise in value if demand exceeds supply. Here's how. First, new ndau is issued only when the market is ready to accept it. When demand for ndau outstrips market supply, New ndau are issued according to a predetermined price curve that encourages adoption in an orderly and transparent manner. This ensures that the amount of ndau in circulation doesn't get ahead of demand. Net proceeds from the sale of new ndau are placed in a nonprofit endowment and used to help implement its monetary policy. Next, holders earn extra ndau by placing it in their wallet. These incentives increase steadily based on the number of months held, with additional incentive for those who lock their ndau. Finally, it has price stabilization mechanisms that are triggered during moments of negative market pressure. A dynamic seller's fee, payable in ndau, is activated whenever the market price is more than 5% below the most recently issued price.
So we got a lot of information there, of course, keeping that in mind. And you mentioned earlier that Oneiro was actually contracted to create ndau. What was the goal with creating the coin?
Yeah, well, if you look, at least in the Americas today, there's a lot of research out there that says that, less than a quarter of the population holds cryptocurrency. That's very much because it's hard to understand and it's difficult and it's very volatile. So the ndau Collective, the people who decided to dream up the idea of how to improve mainstream adoption of cryptocurrency, said we need to address the problems with volatility, dependability, and governance in order to have a virtual currency that can act as a long-term store of value. So really simply, the goal of ndau is to create an optimized long-term store of value, something that's intended to be held for years, versus the volatile manner and the active trading that most people associate with digital assets today.
So then on this point, Bitcoin, right, potential use case, or the most likely, as conversation has been happening recently, or the dialogue, the narrative as a whole, is Bitcoin as a store of value, right? This idea of a digital gold. Now I'm curious how you would compare this to what you guys are trying to do with ndau and that entire concept.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of discussions about Bitcoin. We're huge Bitcoin enthusiasts, as we're the creators of ndau, right? So what we're looking at is we're trying to find what I call a kinder, gentler digital asset for a long-term store of value. Something that is less rocky ride, less volatility, that held over the long haul can give you a better predictability than what you get with Bitcoin today. I see it very much as a complement with Bitcoin, as with others, where long-term store value is something that you can specifically optimize for using monetary policy to be able to adjust based on the real-time changes in demand, and that's exactly what we've done with ndau.
And so at the beginning of this, we spoke about future plans for the company with the investment you guys have raised. But I'm curious here, what are the company's plans moving forward in, let's say, the next year?
In the next year, we still believe we're early on our journey with ndau, right? So we've achieved good market adoption. It's right now about a tenth of its coins are in circulation, so it's still in the early adopter phase. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the go-to-market and things we're doing to further the journey of ndau. But as I mentioned beforehand, we are actively having discussions right now about other projects in the B2B space, in the consulting space, a lot of interest in things like inter-blockchain communications. That space is still early, but the experience we've gained over the last few years is very relevant in terms of where some of these next-gen blockchain designs are looking to move over the next few years. So you should expect to see other projects from us in the next year.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to hearing about them. Thank you very much, Neil Cohen, VP of Marketing at Oneiro, for joining us and breaking that down for us today. It was great to have you on. For all you folks at home watching at blocktv.com, keep on watching for more cryptocurrency and blockchain-related news.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.